How is it going, everybody? My name is DeMarco, and if you're a fan of Arkane, I have some really good news to share with all of you today. Now, my PSA for this video, Arkane Lyon and Arkane Austin, two separate studios. I know many of you will know that Arkane Austin is responsible for the original Dishonored, for Prey, and for most recently Redfall. Arkane Lyon handled Dishonored 2 and Deathloop. Inevitably, Arkane Lyon is probably going to be releasing the next Arkane title, and I can already see people saying, well, Redfall wasn't good, so therefore the next Arkane game is also going to suck, even though Arkane Lyon, separate studio. So with the PSA out of the way, it's no secret that Redfall, unfortunately, missed the mark. I do have a review on my channel if you want to check out my own thoughts on the game. That was a lot of fun to put together, but ultimately there were many things that went wrong with the final product and during development. An investigative report done by Jason Schreier revealed some pretty frightening things that happened internally during the development. For starters, you had ZeniMax at the time was pushing for more live service games. That's why we saw the likes of Wolfenstein Youngblood, Fallout 76, and of course Redfall. There was an understaffed and inexperienced studio to make a live service game to begin with. Arkane, obviously predominantly single player, now had to make this 4-player co-op live service title. Doesn't really fit what their specialties are. There was also unclear direction on the project. If this sounds familiar, it's almost poetically echoing what happened with BioWare's Anthem, even down to using arcane magic, similar to BioWare magic. I'm surprised that didn't serve as a case study of these types of things from ZeniMax specifically. It's not really Arkane's fault. It was also reported that internally the developers were hoping when Microsoft acquired Bethesda that Redfall would just be outright canceled. That naturally did not happen, but it speaks volumes as to what the studio was feeling internally. And then during the development, 70% of the staff that worked on Prey left Arkane, which turnover in the games industry is normal, but understandably when you see it at that scale in the middle of a project, it can be a reasonable cause for concern. And then all of this surrounded by the fact that Phil Spencer felt the need to publicly apologize for the launch of Redfall after it did come out, which is pretty big. It wasn't just, hey, the game released bad, we're sorry, we'll improve it, move on. He made statements about it.
Just to kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process. You know, I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, and then we weren't shipping 60 frames per second. That was kind of our punch in the chin, rightfully, a couple weeks ago.
Since Redfall has now been out for a while, it launched in May, there's only been one major update to address some of the bugs and problems that Redfall had, not nearly enough to really fix the game and put it in a proper state. Even the fans who enjoyed Redfall and thought that it had a solid skeleton behind it that could be improved with updates, they're sort of left in the dark, as there's been not a lot of chatter about Redfall from the development team, really no communication. There's 2 DLC characters that are supposed to launch if you paid for the Bite Back edition, and nothing has been said about the progress or where those characters are, what to expect, anything of that nature. So my personal guess is that realistically there's just a smaller skeleton crew that's working on Redfall and trying to get out the legal requirements that they have to before just fully moving on to their next project, which admittedly I think is the right decision here. But thankfully, some good news after all is said and done. Arkane Austin, their next project, we don't know what it is, but based on job listings that I saw originally posted by Idle Sloth over on Twitter, it has been found that they are hiring specifically for single-player experienced developers. Now, normally I think that job listings and reporting on job listings is a little bit phooey in most circumstances. I'll say why later on, but ultimately, in some cases, like this one, it's a pretty positive sign. Now, immediately above that, you might see the experience with network and online features. That does not mean multiplayer. I know some folks are probably going to point that out and go, wait, it says online. It just means you have some online something that's there. They would have specified multiplayer or experience in co-op. They only called out single player, which is a good sign. There is a reasonable question and a reasonable concern when it comes to any of Arkane's next projects that they're working on. the question, and it's pretty obvious, what exactly is being made? A lot of fans, if you look at Idle Sloth's original tweet, which I'll try to remember to link in the description below, many fans crossing their fingers and hoping to see a Prey 2, a sequel to 2017's Prey. And for people like myself, it's my favorite Arkane game that's ever been made, and for many others like me who absolutely love Prey, although it didn't hit the sales number that the studio was looking for, it's a great opportunity to utilize and leverage Game Pass. That's why titles like Grounded were greenlit, or titles like Pentiment were greenlit, and it's an awesome opportunity for Prey 2. And on top of getting original fans like myself back into the mix, on board with Arkane's next project after Redfall, it might also be good for the developers to hop back into a familiar world that they know they're coming back to an established fan base of. For new players, if you've never experienced Prey, it's an awesome opportunity to market the first game, mention that, hey, Prey is currently on Game Pass. You can play the first one, the sequel's coming out whatever date, enjoy. It'll also be day one on Game Pass. That's a pretty solid announcement. People will overlook Redfall to some degree for that. The other direction is that Arkane goes with a completely brand new IP, which I always respect Arkane's ability to try new things and their willingness to jump into new worlds. I really do like that about them. I don't personally judge a game or studio by one single bad release. I don't think that's fair in any way, shape, or form. But for a new IP, you do have a little bit more of a battle. I do think for fans such as myself, you still need to convince me, okay, you truly are going in the right direction. This is the Arkane experience I was hoping that Redfall would be. Now, it is worth mentioning you still do have a lot of veteran talent at Arkane. There's still Ricardo Bear, Steve Powers, Nathan Blaisdell, who are working at Arkane Austin, continuing on, and can provide leadership from the top down for anybody who gets newly hired. The pessimistic side to look at this is definitely that whoever comes in, they won't have the talent, they won't have the interest, or they won't have the team cohesion to fulfill the visions and the void that was left from all the other developers that left Arkane. The positive side, and naturally the one that I lean more towards, is that whoever does come in are either going to be passionate about immersive sims, specifically the games that Arkane have made and are going to continue to make, and also can bring in some fresh ideas, some new talent to innovate and push the genre and their titles forward in exciting directions. Whatever the case might be, normally I find job listings to be a little bit phooey, a bit of a waste of time, and in this instance, it is a reassuring thing to know that Arkane's going back to that single player route that they're known for, that they excel at, and to create that experience that we all know and love, and they're capable of. I am keeping my fingers crossed. Please make Prey 2, Arkane. Do you hear me, Arkane? Prey 2. All of us want it. Even the folks who don't know that they want it too. I promise. So anyway, to wrap up, I genuinely don't think Redfall, there was a lot going on that was very uncanny and very out of the ordinary for Arkane Studios, and even for ZeniMax pushing them in the wrong direction. I'm not going to hold Redfall against them. I'm eagerly anticipating their next title. I can't wait to see what it is. In the meantime, we'll probably get Arkane Lyon's next project. So what do you think that might be? Are you excited for Arkane Austin's next game? And what are you hoping? A brand new IP? Or do you want a Prey sequel? And do you like immersive sims? Let me know down in the comment section below. And thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.